Hey everyone, Dare here, and happy Try-Day! This week for Try-Day, we are going to be checking out Planet Crafter. This game was actually requested on my Twitch stream by a member of the community, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is so much fun. If you enjoy games like Subnautica, or even a little bit of No Man's Sky vibe to it. But either way, let's dive in there, and let's see what it's about. So here we are. We are on a barren landscape of a planet. There's no atmosphere, there's no water, there's no life, there's no oxygen, there's no heat. So the point of this game is to do that. We're going to take pretty much essentially modern day Mars and turn it into a habitable world. There's a story that goes along with it. I'm not going to spoil any of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to start collecting resources. So we have some objectives there in the top. So we need to actually create a backpack, create an oxygen tank, and then we need to craft a microchip. So the big thing that I'm going to do here in the beginning is we're going to craft those items, and then we're going to get the hell out of Dodge. So this is not a fantastic place to build a base, but for right now, it's a pretty decent place to get our first, feet underneath us. Bam, backpack. So we got our backpack. Let's go ahead. What do we need for our oxygen tank? So we need 2 cobalt, an iron, and a magnesium. So let's go about and grab those. I think the interesting thing about this game is that it very much has that, and I'm going to compare it to Civ in this, that only one more turn. And as you're doing that, that only one more turn turns into 3 hours later. It is dangerous in that aspect. Because you're gonna be like, oh, I can just upgrade this one item, and then we're gonna be done. We're gonna call it a night. And then you're like, it's only gonna take me a little bit more to maybe throw down another driller or throw up another heater. And by the time you know it, the day is gone. So very, very kind of addictive in that sense of it's really, really easy to lose track of time while playing this game. But I will say, this game is probably not for everyone. There's no enemies, there's nothing to shoot. It's literally you against essentially the elements, which the elements really don't even hurt you that bad outside of the things down in the left-hand corner of your food, water, and oxygen. Once you kind of get those all squared away with and figure out how to manage them, even the environment really isn't that big of a deal. Occasionally, meteors will fall from the sky. At first, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But they don't really pose that big of a threat. And if anything, they're really nice because they replenish all the materials that you'll find around on the landscape. So let's go ahead and build a construction microchip. So actually, I need 3 magnesium and 2 silicon. Silicon, not silicone. I will probably be calling it silicone this entire time, but there is, in fact, no E in that. It is silicon. So let's grab the magnesium then we can build our construction thingies and then get the hell out of Dodge here. Okay, so we got the construction microchip. Let's go ahead and build a destruction microchip and throw that on as well. So now we can actually rotate on our little tool there what we want to do, and we're going to need to make a living compartment and then a door on it. So we need 2 titanium, 1 silicon, and 3 iron. So I got 2 titanium, the 1 silicon. Now let's go around and try and find the iron, and then we're gonna make a run for it. And I'm really hoping we can get where we want to go without dying in the process. Okay, so we got what we needed to build that. Let's go ahead and grab everything else, put it in there, and we are going to make a run for it. We're gonna go up this way. When I was playing through this on my Twitch stream, I actually did end up building my base up here. Actually, I started with my base down there and was informed pretty quickly that that's not the place to be, because as you terraform this planet, this whole area is a lake. So you don't really want to have your permanent base down there. So I actually came up here and I built it on this little section over here, just because there's a lot of cool places. Like there's the sand falls over there, which we can get some resources. The sparkly rocks is also a fantastic place to get some aluminum, which we'll be needing later on. And then there's the spaceship, which we can explore early on to try and get a couple other things like food. Food is a little bit difficult to make early on, so you kind of have to scrounge it up. Okay, so do I have any more iron? I got no more iron. Let's go grab some. And then I can build a box in there. There you go. Let's get a couple more. There's some cobalt. Low power. I'm aware of low power, bud. You need to chillax. Okay, well, we got one iron. Oh, 2 iron. It's a little bright right now. A lot of bright right now. So there are a lot of weather effects. So there's this. Eventually, it will rain once we get an atmosphere and some clouds. And rain is actually a kind of a threshold on your progress. Once you start getting rain, it's actually a really big step in the game. Right now, we're just building towards getting a blue sky. We do not have an atmosphere right now, and we're going to start building up pressure on the planet so that we can actually generate enough pressure to then create an atmosphere. But we'll get into that here in a second. So I want to hold on my iron, put the ice away. Let's go ahead and we're going to drink that. Do I have enough to make a... I can make a craft station T2. So let's get some silicon because we're going to need that. Grab the silicon. Let's head back in. So we need to make a drill. That is our next step, but there's a couple other things I want first. I'm actually going to put you right here for now. We'll make a bigger complex, but for the time being, we just kind of need the bare necessities, such as the ability to make water. I would... Ooh, do I need this? I don't need this exoskeleton yet. I might. Actually, I think I do because I can get the torch, which we could then go explore that ship. But for right now, let's head back on out and let's see what we need to make a drill. So we need 1 titanium and 1 iron, which sounds pretty simple, except for the fact that we need a wind turbine with it. So we need at least 2 iron and 1 titanium. Let's grab one more. Is that one right there? Or is that a silicon? That is a silicon. Get out of here. I know. I'm running out of oxygen. Don't need to die just quite yet. Let's hop in, get some oxygen up, and out we go. Let's go ahead and build a wind turbine. Little neat trick that I learned on stream is that if you hit control, you can make duplicates, which is, you wouldn't think that's too big of a tip, but that actually is a really big tip. Okay, let's get some drills going then. Drilling away. Do I have enough for more? I don't. So you'll notice up in our upper right hand corner, we have the terraformation index. The TI there is how far we are in terraforming. There's certain number thresholds we need to reach in order for objectives to be hit, whether it's the blue sky or it's clouds or rain or whatever. So once we build, we need to actually make the craft screen, and I will show you what that all means.
5 minutes later.
Okay, let's go ahead and throw on some more compartments here so that I have a little bit more room. I'm just gonna throw 3 on so that we can expand just a tidbit, and then let's throw up this screen so I can explain the terraformation a little bit better. Am I gonna do it in the middle? Why not? Okay, so we have oxygen, heat, and pressure. There are other things such as biomass that'll start showing up later once we're, growing grass, or, we have, I believe, insects. I think fish is down the line as well. So we're going to be building things that's going to increase the rate at which our pressure, heat, and oxygen increases. Once we get our heat to 100, I believe it's NK, not PK, all the ice starts melting. So there are obstacles around the world that prevent us from passing. So a big part of going past that is we have to get the heat of the planet up. Another thing is O2. Once O2 is to a point that it's breathable, then we don't need to worry about having an oxygen tank anymore. Pressure is the atmosphere. So for pressure, it is, once we get an atmosphere, then we can get a blue sky, and then we can get clouds, and then eventually it'll rain. Once it starts raining, that's when we get biomass and things start to grow. It's all it's really cool once you get it to going. So for right now, let's go ahead and craft our next thing, which is the craft screen. We need to get a heater going to start increasing the heat of the planet, and we need to get a vegetube going, which is essentially a plant inside of it's a small little compact greenhouse that'll start producing oxygen. Okay, table, and then let's go with the blueprints monitor and a little clicky. So here's all of our unlocks. We have a lot. There is quite a bit of things to unlock, from super alloy rods to, I believe there are nuclear rods on here and iridium rods. But for right now, we're just trying to get that backpack T2. We did unlock the oxygen tank T2, which is exciting, but we're moving on. Like I mentioned before, there's certain milestones that you need to reach in order to just kind of progress. So our next one is to get a blue sky. If you look in the upper left, we have to have 175,000 Ti. At our current rate, we are at 111 Ti. So we have a lot more work to do to even get to a point where we're generating enough to get to our blue sky. So that means that we need a lot more drillers. We need better drillers, because by the time that I got blue sky on my other playthrough, I think I had like 5 T3 drillers all just kind of pushing. And at that rate, my TI was increasing pretty quickly. So I collected up the resources that we needed to build the vegetube, which the vegetube is essentially the small little indoor greenhouse here, which is going to start generating some oxygen for us. We do need a plant to put inside of it, but luckily the game starts us with one. We can easily go and find more in the ships, but as for right now, it's just going to have to do. This one has no bonuses. You can find ones that have plus 150 oxygen, 200% oxygen, and we even have found some that have plus 600% oxygen generation, which is pretty nice to have. So now that we have that going, and if we come over to our handy, oh, I'm out of power. Gosh darn it. Okay, never mind. Let's go get some iron. That way I can build another windmill. That way I can actually continue talking about what I was going to say. I think if I had to truly compare to something, it is Subnautica kind of without the story elements, which there are story elements, just I don't think quite to the quality that Subnautica has yet. I think that is a very, very accurate comparison. Maybe probably early access Subnautica in the early days is kind of where the game is at right now. It is fantastic. A lot of exploration, a lot of base building. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, but I think that is probably the most appropriate comparison right now is to early days Subnautica. Okay, so now that we have the power, not to just completely change subject again, now that we have that little oxygen thing, we are generating 0.15 ppq per second. So as you can see, we're just really screaming up on our oxygen. And our pressure is just kind of slowly taking its lazy time to get on up there, but that's okay. We're moving on to the next thing, which is a heater. Big problem with a heater is we actually need iridium. So we need iridium, we need iron, and we need silicon. Silicon and iron are very easy. Iridium is not. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go around and we're gonna cheese the game a little bit. Ooh, I might have enough. Hold on. I need 3 iron, 2 titanium, and a silicon. 3 iron, 2 and a silicon. Okay, we actually have what we need. Now let me grab one more silicon wherever you are, and let's head to where we get iridium. So there's special parts around the map to get certain things. So for instance, the sand falls here inside the caves, we're gonna find some iridium. Back behind us, the sparkly rocks, I think I already mentioned, is where we get aluminum. There are other things such as uranium that we're gonna need for nuclear rods later on, and an assortment of other things such as super alloy, which there's a cave around the bend here to find super alloy early on, but I don't really think that it continuously spawns there, which is also kind of concern for later on. Okay, so here we are. Let's go ahead. We're going to build a compartment. This is kind of cheesing it a little bit because what we do, what's that? It's ice. Is we come over, we're going to build a compartment and a door. Power-wise, power is planet-wide. So as long as you have power generation somewhere, it's going to reach anything that you build. So we can come over here and we can kind of farm up all the iridium that we want, and we're gonna go dump it back in that room to oxygen up. Once we're done, we'll then just kind of start hauling it back to our base. I'm actually gonna grab iron while I'm here as well, because iron is kind of a pain in the butt for me right now for whatever reason. Okay, let's not die over here, Dare, you dummy. Another really cool feature later on is that instead of having to run around and actually pick up, manually mine up all the ore, we'll actually be able to get extractors. So I'll be able to slap down an extractor and it'll mine out the iridium for me so that I don't have to come over here and do it constantly, which is really handy if if you think about it, because there's quite a bit of things that's going to require these resources in the higher tiers, and I don't really know how often or even if they do respawn. One thing I should have done before I came over here is upgraded my oxygen tank, but the fact of the matter is that I'm a dummy and that would have been too easy to do. I probably should have upgraded my oxygen tank and my backpack. How much do I got? This is enough. This is enough for now. So let's grab this. Let's head on back. I'm going to leave this compartment here just because it's cheap. And whenever I need to come back here, I'm going to have a little safe haven, which will be really nice so that I can dump anything off or even have a place that I can get oxygen really quickly. Okay, now that we made it back, let's go ahead and take what we need and let's go ahead and build this heater. And we're just going to plop it back here for now. In the early stages, the heater and the vegetubes all you build indoors. But I think once we get to tier 3, tier 3 on both of them, they're so large they have to go outside. The things that generate things, they get exponentially bigger as you go, which kind of makes sense these numbers need to get quite a bit bigger as well to start, I don't know, changing an entire planet. So as we look, we're at 305, 306, and then we have 8 heat, which is just now starting to generate, and we're up to almost 60 PPQ on the oxygen. All this put together is giving us a TI of 381. Still a long ways away from our 175,000 needed. Now that I've kind of shown you what the early game looks like, I'm actually going to take you over to the planet that I have currently working that I've been on stream, because I think it's kind of a really cool thing to see how this game progresses. So I will see you there in a second.
One eternity later.
And here we are. So this is my playthrough I've been playing on my stream. I'm about, I want to say 10 to 15 hours into it. At this point, you can tell there's a little bit of difference thus far. So I have clouds, I have blue sky, I have liquid water, which then turned into life. So I have grass on the ground. I've got some weeds and flowers growing. The starting area with our pod is now completely submerged into a lake. So we have all of that. I have some generators over there producing algae, which we use to make things. We're well on our way. If I go into my base, I can kind of show off currently how things are going. So as you can see here, my pressure is skyrocketing. My heat is skyrocketing. It's going up very quickly. My oxygen is a little bit behind right now, so I will need to address that. And our biomass in the region is slowly but surely growing as well. So for biomass, it is kind of the point in the game where I'm starting to just very slowly start building that up. My pressure's going, my heat's going. Oxygen is kind of, lagging a little bit, but I feel like once I get my plant life to a certain point, oxygen will start then beginning to skyrocket as well. I kind of came up here because there are modules that kind of help with that. For instance, I have these 2 biodomes over there, which generate tree bark, produce biomass and oxygen. If I come over to this console, we can actually see my different thresholds that I'll need to unlock some things. So once I have 80 tons of plants on the planet, I'll actually unlock a beehive, which is very exciting because once I get a beehive, then I'll actually start generating insect mass as well, which will also add to my biomass total, and I'll even be able to create or generate more biomass even quickly. Everything about this game is exponential. So for instance, over here I have my rocket launch pad, which I can build rockets on, launch them into space, and most of them have something they can bring down. So some of them will bring down uranium, other them will bring down iridium, and in the process they'll actually increase the amount at which my pressure builds or my heat builds or any of that stuff. So it's all exponential in some way, shape, or form. I mean, even when I was in this playthrough, my terraformation index at the start of the episode or the stream was ticking up very slowly, and by the end of it, it was just screaming right along. And it's just all part of the game, and it kind of is what makes it fun. But that is kind of all I really wanted to show. I just kind of wanted to show a sneak peek of where the game will progress to. I don't really know what the end game looks like at this point, and it's still in early access. They're still adding a ton of stuff to it. I believe in the planned window, they're bringing a wildlife into it, such as fish, I think is the next step. I'm not sure if that's released yet or if that's in the testing phases, but either way, it's on the pipeline. So eventually have fish. I'm really hoping it goes further than that and they start bringing in land animals and birds and all sorts of like just really cool stuff. And I'm kind of really excited to see where this game goes. But let me know down in the comments what your thoughts on this was. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Happy Try-Day to everyone once again. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next one. Check you later.